Wait, stop scrolling, because these cards just came out in a very specific order, and I need you to see exactly what came through before I explain what this means for you. I understand why you walked away. And then immediately after that, this one. And I carry that with me every day. Keep watching because it gets more specific. I just got quiet about it, and this one stopped me completely, without all the hurt we created. And then on the bottom row, but because I needed to grow, not just for you. And that's something I regret deeply. And this is where everything starts to make sense. Because what I'm picking up behind these messages is so much deeper than just words on cards. Spirit is showing me a person, and they are not okay. They are sitting with something heavy, something they have been carrying quietly for a very long time. And today, for some reason, that weight is pressing down on them harder than usual. So if you feel like this reading is for you, stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you goes far beyond what those cards showed on the surface. This is a full reading, and it is meant specifically for you. Let me start at the beginning of what I'm seeing, because the energy here is layered. There is someone in your life, or someone who has stepped out of your life, and they are in a deeply reflective space right now. I'm not talking about a passing thought. I'm talking about the kind of reflection that happens at 2 in the morning when everything is quiet and they can't pretend anymore. This person is thinking about you. Not casually, not the way you think about someone when a song comes on. I mean, they are actively, consciously sitting with the memory of you and what happened between you two, and it is pulling at something in their chest that they cannot shake. And here is the first thing I need you to understand, because this is important, and I'll come back to it. They are not showing this to anyone, not to their friends, not on social media, not in conversation. They have gotten very quiet about it. And that silence, that quietness that you may have interpreted as them being over it, as them moving on, as them not caring, that silence is actually the loudest thing they're feeling. Sometimes people go quiet not because the feeling has left, but because the feeling has gotten too big to put into words, and that is exactly what is happening here. Now, before I go deeper into what they're thinking and feeling, if this is resonating with you, if you already feel like I'm describing your exact situation, I want you to drop a yes in the comments right now, because this reading called you here for a reason, and engaging with this video tells the universe that you are ready to receive what's meant for you. Okay, let's keep going. So I'm picking up on this person's emotional state, and what I'm getting is a very specific kind of pain. It is not angry pain, it is not bitter pain, it is the kind of pain that comes from clarity, from finally understanding something that you wish you had understood sooner. There is a realization happening in them, and it is uncomfortable because it came too late. They now understand why things happened the way they did. They understand the role they played. They understand the hurt they contributed to, and instead of defending themselves the way they might have in the past, they are sitting in accountability, maybe for the first time, and that is significant. That is not a small thing. Spirit is showing me that this person has done some growing, maybe not as much as needed, but genuine growth has happened, and with that growth came a kind of grief, because when you grow, you look back, and when you look back clearly, you see all the things you got wrong. And one of the things they got most wrong, I'm getting chills as I say this, is how they handled the hurt between you. They didn't address it. They didn't face it. They went quiet, but not in a healthy, reflective way. They went quiet in an avoidant way. They swallowed things down and told themselves it would be fine, it would pass, that distance would solve what communication couldn't. And now they are living with the consequence of that choice, and the consequence is regret. Deep, aching, specific regret. Here's what you didn't notice, and this is the moment that changes how you see this entire situation. While you were processing the separation, while you were doing the hard work of healing, this person was watching from a distance. They saw you, maybe not literally, but energetically. They were aware of you moving through pain that they helped cause. And instead of reaching out, instead of saying something, they convinced themselves that staying silent was the kinder option, that coming back into your space would only make things harder. But here's the truth that Spirit is showing me right now. That wasn't entirely selfless. There was fear in that silence too. Fear of rejection, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of admitting how deeply they messed up. And so they stayed quiet and carried it every single day, as the message said. They have been carrying this every single day. Let me tell you what that looks like from the inside, because I want you to really feel this. Imagine waking up and the first thought that drifts through your mind before you're even fully conscious is a memory of someone, a conversation, a moment, the way they looked at you. And you can't hold on to it because you're waking up and the day is starting, but it leaves a residue, a kind of emotional fingerprint on the rest of your morning. That is what this person is experiencing. You are not an afterthought to them. You are a first thought, a recurring thought, a thought that hasn't quieted down no matter how much time has passed. And now I want to shift into what they understand, because Spirit is very clear about this. They understand why you walked away, or why things ended, or why the distance exists between you now. They understand it intellectually and emotionally. They are not standing in confusion going, "Why did this happen?" They know why. And that knowledge, that clarity about their own role in the collapse of this connection, is part of what makes the regret so heavy. It would almost be easier if they could blame you, if they could point to something you did and say, "That's why." But they can't, not honestly, not anymore, because the growth they've done has stripped away the self-protective stories they used to tell themselves, and what's left underneath is just the plain, uncomfortable truth. They contributed to the hurt, and they know it. Now, here is where I need you to pay very close attention, because this next part is the piece most people miss in situations like this. Their growth was real, but it was not just for you. And I want to sit with that for a moment, because there's something freeing in that. This person did not grow and change and reflect because they were trying to win you back, or because they were performing for an audience. The growth happened because something inside them knew it had to, because they hit a wall, because they couldn't keep doing things the way they were doing them and feel okay about themselves. And while part of that was absolutely about what happened between you two, about the hurt that was created, another part of it was deeply personal, about who they wanted to be, about what kind of person they were becoming, and recognizing that they didn't like the answer. So what you're dealing with here is not someone who is playing games. This is not calculated. This is not someone stringing you along emotionally for their own amusement. What I'm picking up is genuine, raw, human reckoning, the kind that doesn't have a neat ending, the kind that sits in the chest and doesn't resolve easily. And now I want to talk about what I believe is about to happen, because Spirit shifted just now and I'm getting something very specific about forward movement. This person is approaching a threshold. They have been in this reflective, quiet, carrying it alone space for long enough that the energy is starting to shift. Something is building. There is a moment coming, and I feel it within a relatively short window of time energetically, where the silence is going to become unbearable for them, where carrying it every day without doing anything about it is going to feel worse than the vulnerability of reaching out. And when that threshold is crossed, there will be movement. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to do with that information. That is yours to sit with. But I do want you to be prepared, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, because when someone who has been carrying this kind of weight finally decides to speak, it can feel destabilizing, even if it's what part of you wanted, even if part of you has been hoping for exactly this. It can still feel shocking. So ground yourself, stay in your power, know your worth going into whatever comes next. Because here is the thing that Spirit keeps bringing me back to throughout this entire reading, and I want to make sure I say this clearly. You deserved better communication. You deserved someone who could face the hard conversations instead of going quiet. You deserved honesty and presence, even when things were uncomfortable. And whatever growth this person has done, whatever regret they're sitting in, whatever movement might be coming, none of that erases what you went through. None of that means you have to rush back into anything or throw open a door that you carefully, intentionally closed. You have been doing your own growing. I'm picking up on that strongly. Whatever you've been working on, internally, emotionally, in your life, it's real and it matters. And there is something in the universe right now that is honoring that work. The reason this reading found you is not accidental. You are in a place of power, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Even on the days when the memories get heavy and the unanswered questions feel loud, you are standing in a strength that you may not fully recognize yet. I want to take a moment here. We are at about the halfway point of this reading, and I just want to check in with you. If this has been resonating, if you've felt seen in this reading, please comment below and share what specifically hit home for you. Your comments genuinely help me understand what Spirit is bringing through, and they help other people who are sitting with similar pain feel less alone. This community is real and it matters. Okay, back into the reading because there's still more I need to tell you. The phrase that keeps coming up for me, and I've been holding it since early in this reading, is "without all the hurt we created." And I want to unpack that because there is something very specific in the word "we." This person is not saying "without all the hurt you caused" or "without all the hurt that happened to me." They are saying "we." They are taking shared ownership of the pain, and that is actually a really significant sign of emotional maturity, however delayed it may be. Because it is much easier to be a victim in your own story than it is to look at a painful situation and say, "I was part of this. I helped build this hurt. My choices, my silence, my avoidance, my patterns, these things mattered and they caused damage." And the damage that was caused, I'm picking up on this, was not small. This wasn't a minor falling out. This wasn't a surface level disagreement that got blown out of proportion. What I'm sensing is that there was real emotional cost to what happened between you two. Things were said or left unsaid that cut deep, moments where one of you needed the other and the other wasn't fully there. A pattern of disconnection that built up over time until it became a wall. And the regret on their side is proportional to how real the connection was, because you only deeply regret losing something that genuinely mattered to you. So let that sink in. The depth of their regret is a reflection of how much you meant to them. It does not mean the regret justifies the hurt, but it tells you something true about where you stood in their heart and where you still stand, if I'm honest about what I'm picking up. Because they haven't let you go. Not really. Not in the way that would make the energy around this feel clean and finished. What I'm feeling is more like a door that's pulled almost all the way closed, but is still letting a sliver of light through. And they know it. They are aware of it. They can feel that unfinished thread, and they don't know what to do with it because doing something about it requires a vulnerability they're still building the courage for. Now, and this is the part I really want you to hear, your job is not to wait for them. Your job is not to hold space indefinitely while they work up the courage to say what you've maybe been needing to hear for a long time. Your job is to keep building your life, keep doing the work you're doing, keep choosing yourself, your growth, your peace. Because here's what I know about energy. People are drawn back most powerfully to those who are not standing still waiting for them. They are drawn back to light, to movement, to someone who is actively becoming. And you are becoming. I can feel it in the energy of this reading. There's a version of you that is emerging on the other side of this pain, clearer, stronger, more rooted in your own knowing, and that version of you is magnetic. Whatever comes next, whether this person finds the courage to reach out or whether the universe has something entirely different in store for you, you are going to be okay, more than okay. You are going to look back on this chapter, on the quiet, on the hurt that was created, on the weight of it all, and you are going to understand exactly why it had to happen this way, because the growth that came from it for both of you was necessary. It was the point. That doesn't mean it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean the regret you may also be carrying, your own version of, I wish things had gone differently, isn't valid. It is. Hold that with compassion, for yourself first, and then, if you can, extend just a thread of it toward them too. Not because they've earned it, not because you owe it, but because carrying bitterness is heavy, and you've already been carrying enough. Spirit is wrapping this reading up now with one final message, and it feels important. It feels like the thing that was meant to come through from the very beginning. You are seen. You are not invisible in this situation. The universe is not ignoring what you've been through or how long you've been navigating this quietly in your own heart. You are being held, and what is meant for you, the love, the clarity, the resolution, the peace, it is moving toward you, not away, toward. Whatever you do with this reading, I hope it brought you some comfort. I hope it helped you feel a little less alone in whatever you're carrying. If it resonated, please give this video a like. It truly helps this channel reach people who need these messages. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because I do these readings regularly, and I would love for you to be here for what comes next. And drop a comment. Tell me what hit hardest. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what you need. I read them. I see you. And I'll see you in the next reading.